we can record it. Good. We are still on mindset for transforming leadership, management, and relationship masterclass, and on the platform of YYCI International Academy. And our next speaker will be Ambassador Pastor Awodiran Olushola from Nigeria, and he will be sharing with us on how to solve corruption in government and individual. Remember, we are not here to criticize or to judge or to condemn anyone, but we are here to improve our leadership, to transform the way we lead. And it's not too late for us to make an adjustment. And also we are laying good example, good instructions, good guidance for our younger leaders as well as ourselves. So that is why we are all sharing this very important topic. I'm also ready to learn from this because we are all leaders. So our next speaker will be Pastor Awodiran Olushola, who was called into full-time ministry. He left Yaba Tech as a pensioner, even at his younger age, but still worked in great places like Lagos State Government, NIPCO, Safeway Shipping Company, Music Studio, before returning to the ministry full-time. He obtained HND in accounting from Yaba Tech and is also currently a pastor in one of the branches of Inri Evangelical Spiritual Church, Ayobo Branch, Lagos. Pastor Ambassador Awodiran Olushola is also the Vice Chancellor of Pray Nigeria Mission, Ejibo, Lagos. He is a prolific writer, an apostle by calling, and an accountant by profession. He is happily married with wonderful children. So, on behalf of YYCI International, we welcome Pastor Ambassador Awodiran to share with us his wealth of knowledge, his wealth of wisdom, and also many years of experience. You are welcome, sir.
Good morning, man. Good morning, house. Good morning, everyone. I'm very, very glad to be here. I'm very sorry. I would have taken my class earlier, but because of one or two things, I was a little bit delayed. So thank you very much for the understanding, man. God bless you very much, man. Let me go straight to the point. The topic is how to solve corruption in government and individual. The first thing we need to understand is that corruption is a global virus. It's not just in a particular country, it's all over, and it's eating through the poor and the masses of the nation, of the world. So what do we mean by the word corruption? In essence, corruption refers to the abuse of power or position for personal gain, often through unethical or illegal means. It can be many forms. Corruption can be many forms. But we really need to understand what is corruption, the damage it has caused the economy, the damage it has caused people, families, and even the nation as a whole. So corruption comes in many forms. It can be bribery. And what do I mean by bribery? That is giving or receiving money to get on an undue favor. Let me give an example of that. Some few years back, I went to one of my brother's inter-sport. The children's inter-sport, my brother's children inter-sport. And it was so clear that a particular boy won the race. But the mother of a particular boy that came second went straight to the proprietor of the school and said his son supposed to be the winner, that they should use that to encourage the boy, so that, because the boy is already thinking of leaving the school, so they should use that to encourage him so that he can stay. So in response to that, the proprietor disqualified the boy that came first, and they gave the first position to the second one. Though in this case, there was no transaction of money, but one way or the other, it is still corruption, because it has demoralized somebody's position or life, all because you wanted an undue favor. So so bribery is giving or receiving or soliciting for something of value in exchange for an illicit advantage. It is an illicit advantage. We are talking about many forms of corruption now. So I said the first one is bribery. So the second one is embezzlement. Embezzlement means misappropriation of funds or assets for personal use. What is meant to be used for a development of a nation, of a society, or of an organization, of some particular set of people, and one diverted it for personal use. That is embezzlement, using what's supposed to be for others for personal use. Another thing is nepotism. This is very, very common. It's very, very common all over the world, especially in Africa. Yes, especially in Africa, because in Africa now, whenever we get to a position, we don't care to put people that are qualified for that position. Rather, we put in our family members that are not qualified, our friends or relatives that are not qualified for that position, so that maybe it's a kind of extending favor or goodwill to them, but at the expense of the growth of the nation or organization. And this is very, very common in politics today. Very, very common in politics today. And that is why politics is actually draining life out of the nation or the people of the nation. Another thing is fraud. We are looking at examples of different forms of corruption. So another one is fraud. That is deceiving others for financial or personal gains. Fraud. We can call scamming, lying to get favor that are not actually true. So fraud is deceiving people, saying, calling yourself what you are not, in order to get people's attention, to get favor or personal gains from them. That's fraud. Another one is extortion. Extortion. That is obtaining something through force or threats. I'll pick Nigeria as an example, and I don't know if I can use Nigerian police as an example. In Nigeria here, the police will stand by the side of the road. They will mount a block on the road, all because they want to collect money from commuters, from transporters. And whenever the transporters come and they demand money, they do it at gunpoint. They carry the gun, pointing it at them as if, let me call it a broad daylight robbery. You can't give them less. They ask specific amount they must collect from those drivers. And any attempt for the driver not to give them, they can go ahead and shoot. And the next thing they will say, it was an accidental discharge. But meanwhile, it was actually forcing people to bring up their money, their hard-earned money, with the threat of a gun pointed pointing at them. And of course, you know, a man with a gun is a dangerous person, and such person shouldn't be taken for granted. So the drivers or the bus conductors will have no choice than to release whatever they want, whatever they are demanding from. Another thing is we have what we call kickbacks. Kickbacks is receiving payment to return for favor or influence. Kickbacks, receiving money. You know, everyone that is that has a seat, an official seat, we believe they collect salary. So one should be contented with the salary he or she is collecting, but rather they still go ahead to collect money from people, and they call it, they gave it a kind of a name. They call it welfare. They call it welfare. They also have, they call it welfare packages. That is to get the attention or another next favor. This is also part of corruption, because whenever people want to do something like, let's say, contract, to collect contract, they will always want to give them the contract because they've already given out something to get their attention. Another one we have is a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest, using one's position to benefit, for personal benefit, using one's position to fit others, using one's position to ride others, using one's position to deny people of what they're supposed to get. Now, I'll break this into two forms that are very, very common here in Nigeria. I believe we all will heard about what we call sex for grades. Sex for grades is actually conflict of interest. If you don't, the lecturers will tell the students, if you don't open up for me, I won't give you the grades. I won't give you the right marks. You'll have to carry the subject over. And thank God today that we are actually getting a voice on that. Another one is when people want to get a job, maybe when they go for job interviews, the manager or the personnel, whatever, will want to make sure that if you don't dance to my tune, there's no way I can give you this job. They will rather say, from your salary, there's a certain percentage I'll be collecting from that salary, from your salary. Or they will say, if you need to get this job, then I'll have to have a time with you on the bed. These are also part of corruption. And also we have what we call illegal activities. These illegal activities has to do with, is actually criminal acts. Everything about corruption is criminal act, but this this particular illegal act is a broad one because it has to do with smuggling, kidnapping, and drug trafficking, and what we call money laundering. So it's part of corruption also. And also we have the abuse of authority, the abuse of authority, using power for personal gain or to harm others. If you report a policeman to a policeman, there's a problem already for that person. Some years back, a woman, there was a notice that if you notice a particular criminal, that you should bring the report to the station. Then this woman saw one of the gangs that came to rob. She went straight, reported the matter to the police. The police collected her phone number, collected her address. The following night, a gang came to the woman, raped her. She went back to the station to make complaint. The police said there's nothing they can do about it. So that is what we call abuse of authority. And finally, on these forms of corruption is unethical behavior. Unethical behavior, this is actually very, very terrible as well, because it demoralizes It reduces one standard and it actually affects one because they use it to get influence. They use it to demoralize people in several forms. That is accepting undue advantage over others. Now, I want to move on to corruption in various sectors. Because when we're talking about corruption, it's not just about in government that has to do with political corruption. It's not just about in business that has to do with corporate corruption. It's not just about public services that has to do with healthcare, education, etc., etc., and not just about the law enforcement. We also have religion corruption. Yes, we also have religion corruption. So we have five forms, five various sectors of corruption: government, the business sector, the public services, the law enforcement, and of course, the religion. Now, I've been in the system of church for some time, and I've seen this corruption even happening in the body of Christ, where people will rather give their superiors money, gifts, just to get to the top, that they are not even qualified to be. And those that are actually qualified for that position or for that office, pastoral office, they don't give them, they put them under these so-called people, all because they've received money or gifts. And this is also corruption in the religion sector. Now, we want to look into the effects of corruption. The effects of corruption. Now, I need to put it straight that corruption is actually evil. It's pure evil, wickedness that needs urgent correction. Though it is not easy, but I know with time, at least we can reduce the pressure and the power of corruption. Now, effects of corruption, that is undermining trust in institutions. Presently now, people don't believe in police. They don't believe in our political leaders. When they are campaigning, they claim something else, but when they come into power, they do something else. So it has undermined their trust. People don't trust them anymore. People don't believe in them anymore. People have seen it as a political attitude, deceiving people just to get them into power. Another thing is inequality and injustice. Here we will see the person that has committed crime being released and the one that brought in the matter being detained. So this is another effect of corruption, inequality and injustice. Another one is economic harm. And this is very, very serious, economic harm. The situation, let me use Nigeria as an example now. The situation we find ourselves in Nigeria now is actually part of what corruption has brought about. And it has harmed the economy, and the old people are crying out for help. I pray God will help us. The fourth one is social unrest. Yeah, social unrest. We've been having a series of strike actions and protests because of what is happening in and around the nation or the world. And finally, we have the political instability. Yes, the political instability. Yes, this is also something very, very terrible, but I still have to put it in. Now, you need to, in example, in Nigeria now, you need to join a particular party so that all your corruption files can be raised. If you are not with them, there's going to be trouble. But the moment you join the party, Or the moment you join the group, they put aside every accusation and every crime such person has committed. So we have what we call political instability. In fact, people are not believing in politics again. Even when we vote, our vote does not even count anymore. So those are the effects of corruption. Quickly, I want to say something. It is important for us to note that corruption is a complex issue, and addressing it requires a collective effort from individuals, organizations, and the government as a whole. Now, I want to look into the solution to corruption. I want to look into the solution of corruption. Before we go into that, I want to quickly say a short story about a commissioner of police that was well known to our family, though he's retired now. Why he was an inspector. They went on a road check, and the man is so disciplined because he has to be a very good Christian. He's so disciplined, or let me say, he was so disciplined because he happens to be a very good Christian. But at a particular time, whenever they go out on the road check, he doesn't allow any of his subordinates to collect bribe. He doesn't allow them to collect anything from anybody. The moment your documents are clean, he allows them to go. And anyone whose documents are not okay, he asks them to be taken straight to the station to answer for it. So one of those days, all the subordinates have been ganging up against him that this man has been hindering us from making money. Who brought him to the system? So they reported to his own superior. Now, when they reported him to the superior called him and said, Inspector, you need to do something because it's not easy for your boys to stay in the sun and come back empty-handed or go home empty-handed. So you need to do something. So he told the superior then that he can't allow it to. So the superior, one way or the other, gave an instruction to the boys. So one of those days, the boys now went to him while they were doing a road check, and they pointed gun at him, and they said, "Sir, the next time you hinder us from collecting money from these people, we'll gun you down. We'll gun you down, and we'll play some, I will cook up a story against you." And you know what, man? From that day, he started collecting bribe also. He allowed them, and they started giving him his own share also because he feared for his life. He feared for his life. Though the family, though he opened up to the family questioned him, but before you know it also, the family also started enjoying the dividend of the corruption. He started bringing money, he started bringing food, he started bringing this, he started paying this, he started paying that. So they started enjoying it, and soon they forgot about corruption being evil. So we can see that corruption is a virus. Is a virus. I pray God will help us. God will help us. Now, we want to look at solution from the side of the government now. How corruption can be solved or reduced. Let me put it that way. Number one is strengthening institutions. Strengthening institutions. That is establishing independent anti-corruption agencies. We have that in Nigeria. We have the EFCC, even though today they are not actually what we think they are, because they are also involved in this squarely. Now, if we have these independent anti-corruption agencies, their duties are to check every organization, both government or private organizations, even to check individual lives, which I know they did very well sometime, and they are still doing it very well now. Because we've had cases where EFCC were busting into higher institutions and they raid group of students scamming people online. So if they are dedicated to their duties, to what they have pledged to do, it will help corruption to be solved or reduced. That is one, strengthening the institutions. And also the police, the military, they are also to get involved, and even people, these organizations like civil defense or the legions, they are also to be involved in helping in this situation so that corruption can be actually dealt with from the root. Now, the second one is transparency. Transparency is actually very, very important. Very, very important. That is being open, letting others to see what you are actually doing. When the boss is transparent, I don't see any reason why the subordinate will be covering anything. So transparency must be a duty for everyone holding a post in an organization, whether the government or private sector. So they must be very, very transparent, even at home. Because they say charity begins at home. Parents should also be transparent so that their children can see how they can work hard to earn their daily living without having to do any criminal act, committing any criminal act. So transparency is very, very important. The third one is accountability. Accountability, everyone holding a position must be able to be held accountable for any act of corruption that goes on in their sector. I love this so much about abroad. In abroad, I've heard several times on the news, whenever there is an issue of such, or the person in office is not, there is an illegality or immorality, immediately they step down. They step down from their office. But it is something else in Africa here. So accountability is very, very important. Everyone must be held accountable for his position. Another one is public participation. Public participation, that is engaging citizens to participate in policy making, in public hearing, in taking decisions. And that's one of the things I love about, I don't know whether it's in America also. I mean, whether it's in the UK also. In American films I do watch, I see the juries. When the judge, before the judge can make any decision, the jury would have concluded within themselves. This also helps to curb the area of corruption. Now, technology. This is very, very important. And this, I make use very, 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 very. I make use of technology very well, at least in my own capacity. When we are talking about corruption, I mean, technology, we are talking about putting out CCTV cameras everywhere so that if anyone is committing corruption, committing anything, it will be seen live and direct, and the person will not be able to deny it. So what I do personally is whenever I want to have a crucial meeting or discussion with people, I make a voice recording. I record it. So by the time we discuss finish, the person goes out to go and say something else about me, I'll just play straight. This and this is what you have said. And at times I will tell them, everything we have said has been recorded already. I recorded everything. I do tell them, I've recorded it so that the person will not go about telling people what I did not commit, I did not do, or did not say. So technology is very important. When we have technology, when we insert CCTV, and even in offices, when their computers are connected to a center board, that means everything that goes on every staff computer, there is a center board that sees everything everyone is doing. With that, corruption will be corrected, solved, or put to reduction. And finally, on the government area, we have prosecution. This is very, very important. When corrupt people are not prosecuted, they go out to do more. They go out to influence others as well. Let's take, for example, in Nigeria, a man stole, in political office, stole almost 3 billion. He stole almost 3 billion naira. And the man was billed for 200 million naira. And that is the end of the case. And that same person is back in the system, in the government system. That is corruption. So if they are properly prosecuted, sentenced to prison, all their properties seized, all their bank accounts closed, these will make people to fear that if they are caught in the act, they will be prosecuted. So with this, they will either stop or reduce it. We've had several stories of people smuggling drugs, and yet they will escape. People breaking away from prison, while they have securities on duty. So if everyone that is involved in corruption is prosecuted according to the judgment of the law, there will be a good reduction to corruption. Now, having talked about the government, we need to talk about individual as well, because the genesis of corruption is from our home. Corruption started from our home. Now, number one is moral education. Moral education. This is very, very important. We need to teach our children, even teach ourselves on this particular part. We must teach ourselves how to uphold our integrity. We must teach our children, we must teach ourselves, we must teach the people around us how important it is for us to do away with corruption. We must not encourage it. When children do something bad, they must be disciplined. We must not let go, because letting go of discipline is what actually gives them the mind, the high mind, to go out and commit greater crime. So moral education is very, very important. Like I said, charity begins at home. So we must have what we call awareness campaign against corruption in our lives, in our home, even in the community we found ourselves. Now, we must, number two, is that we must lead by example. We must lead by example. Many leaders are not leading by example. They will say something else, they are doing something else. They will say, do as I say. But meanwhile, they are not doing as they are saying. So we must lead by example, demonstrating honesty and integrity in personal and professional life. Number 3 is reporting corruption. We must encourage whistleblowing. If you know anyone that is involved in corruption, even in your home, even in the society, try as much as possible to report them. What people do now is that they don't disclose their identity. The government now has also done something. They released out several numbers of government agencies and how do I put it, organizations where one can report corruption matters to. And the activists in those organizations will be the one that will take it up by themselves without disclosing their identity for security reasons. So that is even on presently now. So we must report corruption at all levels. I always tell people there is nothing like keep quiet, open up, say it. Many children have been raped. Many children have been abused with the threat of, if you say it, I will kill you. People should know where to run to so that they can expose the evil people are doing. So reporting corruption is one of the duties of individuals as well. So civic engagement, that is participating in anti-corruption movements, is very, very important. I've seen several ones. People will have t-shirts. They will go about with their placards. A great war against corruption. This is our duty as individuals to do, because nobody will want to be called out as a thief, so, or as a criminal. So when people move out with these civic engagements, having a peaceful demonstration, it helps to correct people holding offices or people involved in corruption. You can imagine at a particular time, I think 2 years ago, a group was formed. A group was formed by mothers of Yahoo Yahoo. They call themselves Yahoo Yahoo mothers. They don't want any problem with their children. They don't want this, they don't want that. And this was what actually brought about the issue of NSAS in Nigeria the other time, because the NSAS people were really, really hot on the Yahoo, the scammers, these Yahoo Yahoo guys. But also the NSAS people, I mean the SAS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad also, they also got themselves involved in corruption. That was why the whole thing escalated and it became a bloody end at the end. So civic engagement is very important. And number 5 is personal orientation. Personal orientation. That is having a personal decision not to be involved. I have a pastor, a father in the Lord, who once worked in a bottling company. He was actually told, when by the time he got a promotion to the post of the West African personnel manager, he was told that he had to join a secret society within the organization. And this man said, number 1, I'm a pastor. Number 2, I fear God. And number 3, I don't know to what extent this secret society you people join. will take me. So because of this, he resigned and started his company. And today he's doing very, very well. So one can make a personal decision to stop corruption. Now, we've seen the government part, we've seen the individual. Now, the two, the government and the individual, that means the government and the people can also work together. What do I mean? Having what we call cultural shift. Cultural shift. That is fostering a culture of integrity, transparency, and accountability in societies. The government and the people can work together to do this. It will help to solve the problem of corruption in our country. Also, incentives will also help. Also, incentives will also help. That is offering rewards or recognition or awards for those that did the right thing, of people that rejected bribe. We had the story of a man that somebody forgot a bag of dollars in his bag here in Nigeria. And the man took it, he saw the number, he called the number, and he called the police attention to it. And the three met together, and he gave the man the money. So this is very important. And they made the man an ambassador. The man that forgot the money also gave him some money. This is something that should encourage people or motivate people to stand against corruption. Another one is collaboration. That is encouraging a cross-sector between the government and societies and private sectors. That is the government, the private sectors, and individual working together to fight corruption. And the fourth one is monitoring. Very, very important. Monitoring. Most of the cases of corruption that were brought into justice were not properly monitored, to the extent that when the cases are brought and people are sentenced to prison, before you know it, we see them again moving about the community. You will see them again holding political posts, holding positions in the country. But if there's a proper monitoring, seeing to it that they are duly prosecuted, it will also help to put an end to corruption. And finally, is continuous personal improvement. Continuous personal improvement. You know, technology is being updated all the time. So also our thinking, our ideas should be updated. Human beings should be updated. We must update our wisdom, our knowledge, and our understanding. Just as the Bible says that the people of this world, they are wise in their own way. So we have to be wiser in our own ways too, so that we can actually stop this plague called corruption. Now, we should note that solving corruption is a long-term effort requiring persistence, collective action, and commitment to creating culture and integrity. So we must continue to fight. Corruption is not a fight for now. It's a fight we must continue to do, because every time and season the body of the nation is being stinged. So we must continue to make sure that we stop this corruption. And finally, solving corruption begins with us. And I believe that this teaching will also help us to move to the life of others, to expose the evil corruption is doing, not just about now, even about the future of the unborn generation. So we all must work together, putting in every force of mechanism to make sure corruption is beaten to a minimal mode. I want to thank you, man, for this opportunity. And I pray that corruption that has become a virus in the society, in the whole world, will be solved in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Amazing, amazing topic that is not common. Amazing topics that's not common because majority involves in this corruption. And like I said right from the beginning, it's very, very sensitive topic. And we are not here to condemn. We are just only here for us to transform our leadership, to make it better, and to create a better and safety environment for us all to live on, especially as well our youth and our children. Because whatever we are doing now, we affect them. And how do we influence them? We need to influence them in a better way. And that is whatever we leave as a legacy is what they too will lead on. And this is how they will lead us or lead the next generation. And that is why it is very important. This corruption, yes, it's so important, it's so crucial that, I mean, people are just shy away from it. But one question I need to ask you, sir, and that question is, why? Because we're talking about mindset here. How did this corruption started in the first place? What inspire it? What inspire people to have that mindset of corruption? And what do they want to gain from that corruption? And does it really improve their leadership, their government, and also their nation? It's a corporate question, and I believe you
Exactly.
can answer it.
Yeah, God love you. The genesis of corruption, if I will put it in a religious way, started from the Bible. It started from the Bible days. So it's been a long thing. It's not just something that we can say it started 1960 or 1940. It's been from the beginning. Corruption has been from the beginning. And the main cause of corruption is greed, lack of contentment. That is the major cause of corruption. Now, the greed and lack of contentment also affected the poor. And it has also made the poor to find a means to come out of hardship by getting themselves involved in corruption. So corruption has given birth to corruption and is giving birth to corruption. When Parents want to give the best to their children when they want to live beyond their salary or their capacity. They want to ride the best cars. They want to travel all over the world. They want to carry the best of the women. They want to eat the best of the food. And whatever they are receiving is not up to. Then they begin to dig their hands into what we call corruption. Not minding the effects, the negative effects of this corruption in the lives of others. And for that reason, the others themselves that are not suffering from the act of corruption, they are also looking for means of coming out of corruption by becoming corrupted. And that is what actually gave birth to what we call this scamming, robbery, and the rest of it. Bribery and corruption. This is what has got into it. My brother told me, because of the high cost of transportation here in Lagos, Nigeria, they needed a second hand. What do I mean by second hand? That means their own hand is not enough to pay for the transport, so they needed somebody they can collect something from so that they can use it to transport themselves home. So corruption has given birth to corruption. But I believe something. We may not be able to eradicate it just like that, but with time, that's why I've been using the word reduce. If we can actually put it right from our homes, then I believe by the time the coming generation gets to the leadership position, they will be able to put things right. But presently, everyone is corrupted. Let me quickly go to the Bible. God told the children of Israel, God told them, I've given you the land, Canaan. Moses sent 12 spies. 10 saw problem. 2 saw opportunities. The voice of the 10 drowned the voice of the 2. That's opportunities. And God made a curse that this generation that did not believe will not enter that land. And from the age of from the children unborn then, with the exemption of Joshua and Caleb, were the only ones that entered into the promised land. And by the time they entered, they did not enter with the fear or with the mindset of their former leaders. So that's what I'm saying about this corruption. If we can deal with it from the grassroots, from our home, from the foundation of our children, by the time they get to the top, then this corruption will be totally reduced. But it's so unfortunate that what we are having today in government is recycling. The grandfather was formerly a politician. The father is a politician. They are already grooming their children as politicians. So it will take God to help us out of this
Corruption.
option. But we must do our part as parents. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now I know the reason, the causes of this corruption, greed, lack of contentment. Even sometimes it could be fear of running out of currency. And it could be, and then sometimes you want to plan for the future. And instead of you to do it in a way that it could be genuinity, then it continues like that. I remember something you just said, that whatever we do, our younger generation also will duplicate it. So that doesn't sound like a good legacy living on. Another thing as well, that I want to also clarify from your teaching is that if one person can change their mindset, yes, it cannot be overnight, and it cannot be eradicated just like that. But if individual can visit what is turning, what they believe, the informations they have on what they believe, I think if they can start with that, then things can be changed gradually, gradually. Like I always say, that you cannot change people, but you can change yourself. And if you can change yourself, your changing of yourself can influence others. So if you are a leader anywhere and you have a right mindset that you want to do the right thing and be open and be integrity and be honest, then if you are working on yourself, then you can influence both your family, your community, and then to extend to society, and then the nation as a whole. So if you are a father of children or mother, you are a leader. Whatever you do, we have a consequences on the children. So if you make up your mind, change your mindset, renew your mindset, determined to change, then there shall be a consequences of it in the future. For example, whatever we do today, someone somewhere will copy or duplicate what we are doing. So in terms of corruption now, you also share with us that it is so easy that we can raise the awareness of this campaign against corruption. May I also say something that it has to be from the root. When we are talking about the root, we are also talking about individuality or younger generation. And I want to put it to all our leaders, especially our education leaders, our parents, our teachers, our lecturers, that it's about time we add this to our curriculum on how to deal with corruption. Because whatever these children learn, we go with them, even when they take their position in the leadership. I also want to throw a light to our government as well, that whatever you do as a leader, your followers, your members of your team are also following. Will it be okay for you to change your mindset and say to yourself that leaving a good legacy to our younger generation is the most important thing? It's not about leaving money. It's about leaving behind moral values. Because moral values will last longer than the money. Money is just like a currency. If it's a currency and it flows like a river. So if you are focusing your leadership based on corruption, you are damaging the situation. You are holding on to the resources that many people in the nations supposed to be benefiting in. And not only that, we are leading, like you said, corruption begets to corruption. So if you are determined to continue with your corruptible heart, you are saying to the world that others as well can do the same, even if they have to kill or steal or rob or even abuse others. So my challenge to us all as a leader is to please renew our mindset for transforming our leadership. If you can make decision today, it will save a lot of people, save the family, save the nation, save even our children and our younger ones. Because there is always a consequences of our actions we are taking as a leader. Like you said, sir, dealing with corruption is not overnight. I agree with you. But if individual can sit up and start thinking, what can we leave behind us? What will people benefit when we've gone to heaven? So this is part of it. It's not too late to change our mindset. And it is not too late to change our acts, our behavior, our attitude towards people, towards the resources that is available for people, and towards the government, and also the legacy for our younger generation. May I also say this on this platform, that we are not here to condemn. We are all guilty in one way or the other. So no one is holy and down. But what we are saying is that the earlier, the better. If we individual as a leader reduces the act of corruption, because it will save many people's life. I always say something that when I study the nation on its own, I look at one positive thing about that nation, and that is no nation is poor. Is the management of the resources or mismanagement of the resources available that makes the nation to be poor. So if we can raise this awareness and start teaching our children even right from primary school up to their university level, and add it to our curriculum, probably majority of them will have the right mindset by the time they reposition themselves as a leader. And we leaders, like I always say, they watch us. We are leading, and we are also sharing who we are and what we are doing. So it's not too late for us to change our attitude towards all this corruption. So I want to say, yes, it is possible. And yes, we can work together to eradicate it. And yes, we can stand up against corruption. Our pastor has already mentioned it today, Pastor Awodiran, that there must be a collaboration between the individuals, the government, and also the private. So maybe every one of us needs to work on that in any position we find ourselves, as a father, mother, leader in the society, and also leaders in the government. So we can do it. And I want to believe that before the end of this month, one or two principles will be applied in one way or the other, and we can see transformation. So once again, I want to say thank you so much. We are not going to stop talking about this corruption because it has really damaged the nation economy. Not because there is no enough money or funding or capital, but mismanagement has led so many nations to that situation they find themselves right now. While some of us, we have the right mindset, while some of us we have the right mindset to look at the possibility, some people will still want to have that fixed mindset to join the system. And that is where we are trying to work on that. That's why we say that there is fixed mindset and there is growth mindset. The fixed mindset, we say that's how they're doing it, so let's join the group. Whereas the growth mindset will say, we can make a change. Let's see where we can tackle it. Let's see where we can overcome it. Let's see ways we can eradicate it. And let's see ways we can reduce it. So again, I want to employ to all our government, our leaders, to please look into this situation and add it to your policy, your constituency, or whatever they call it, constitutes. Let's look into it and see ways we can reduce this corruption. And probably we need to increase the penalty and also the judgment given to those people acting on corruption. So very important, because if we don't get it right as adults, our children will continue the same way. And it's not only going to affect them, it will affect the next generation. So that is the more reason why we all...
Oh, fuck. Oh.
So who is this person that is
Oh my
joining us
god. Oh my
unnecessary?
god.
How can I remove
Steven
this
about
person?
the come.
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful intrusion. I believe we are not accepting anybody else to join us anymore. That is very crazy. You see, this is what we are talking about. We have dangerous people out there. So sorry, we are removing or blocking everybody. So somebody must have shared this. So I've submitted it and they are going to investigate about that. So thank you so much. Okay, as we continue, so that is very important that we get it right and we continue to learn how to get it right. So I could have loved to say more, but I will give room to Dr. Stephen and Dr. Samina and Ambassador Oluwatosin to share their views. Dr. Stephen, are you still here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And it was an amazing presentation. And I really enjoyed and learned. And the presenter, the very honorable presenter, he highlighted that how it is important to eradicate corruption from the society, because that is eroding away all the prosperity out of us. So thank you so much, sir, for such an amazing presentation and for highlighting that how we can eradicate this evil that is corruption. And if our society would be free from this, it would be a peaceful society, and everybody would be getting opportunity. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Dr. Samina Evelyn.
Yes, it was amazing presentation about the corruption, highlighted every point of it. And so we should encourage people against the corruption, and government and individuals and private sector also take action against corruption. It's very good. Lot of knowledge we gained and very wonderful presentation it was. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we're still going to be talking about this topic throughout the week, throughout the month of July. So I believe that more other speakers, maybe even we can call back. He has a lot to discuss with us anyway. So maybe we can still let him involve him in discussion on this topic because it's very important. Well, I want to seize this opportunity to show our concern and also apology for the intruder that just joined us. They actually joined in a very wonderful name that is familiar to us. And I believe that probably they've hacked that person's account. So that is why they have joined us. It has never happened to us before, but that will not stop us because this is our beginning to share the great information that can renew and grow our mindset. So I want to believe that we are not going to experience that such dubious, evil, dangerous images of that person joining the masterclass. I want to believe that we will be very careful, and also let us be careful of who we share the Zoom link with, and let us be more alert as well, so that if we see such behavior, we quickly stop them. So on behalf of Yes You Can International, and on behalf of Yes You Can International Academic and all our great leaders that we so much respect, we want to say we are very sorry for that intrude. Thank you so much. Okay,